In this video, we are going to learn a little bit more about functions and variables. We are learning about the two types of variables, the local and the global variables, and hence we get a better understanding of variables and functions in this video. Okay, first of all, let's start with our basic build up. And here we go. Okay, so the first thing is we are going to declare a function, and we already know that and how this is working, but this time we want to abuse it a little bit because we are not going to assign any value to this variable. So we are still trying to get a value out of this, and now you can try to think about what will be the result of this. You will see it in a bit, of course. You should compile this with WAL. I highly recommend always compile with WAL because this will give you all the warnings and you can improve your code by fixing the warnings. But first of all, we are going to take a look. Again, we are trying to compile that without any warnings, and we are running our program. And now at this point, maybe we get a surprising value, and the problem is if we are really calculating with that value, or we are doing some I don't know, something with that value, we will encounter a problem because we get an unexpected result and maybe we don't know why and where is the mistake in our program, because the program is compiling just fine. But if we are compiling with WAL, if we are looking at all the warnings that the compiler will provide us with, we know what is the problem. A is not initialized, so that is the problem. A doesn't have any assigned value. This might be an easy problem. It is an easy problem because you should always assign values to variables. This is just good practice, so you should try to follow that. I already told that in one video about variables, I believe, so if not, I did it now. Okay, but the more interesting part now is, let's say I declare a variable on top of my function. So not inside of my function, but outside of any function. And okay, let's just go here, call that B, because I want to do some special things later on. Okay, and let's say we have a variable that is called B, and B is also not assigned any value. So what are we expecting the value of B to be? Okay, besides the sentence was funny, we are expecting some funny result or some funny value in B as well. But this is not the case. We are still just getting the warning that A is uninitialized but not B. The reason for this is B has an assigned value, and this is by default 0. The reason for this is, for this different behavior, is B is a global variable, and global variables are by C language default 0. So global variables are always initialized 0. So if you want to initialize this with a 0 value, this might be redundant. Of course, you should make sure that your compiler is behaving according to C standard. And this actually is a local variable. We call that local, and I should write that right. Okay. So one of the differences between a local and a global variable is that a global variable has initialized value by default, and the local variables doesn't. Yeah, one more thing is I'm going here and I take our calc function again, and we had the return of the sum of A and B, and I will uncomment this for now. And we know that of course we can say a plus b equals and calculate a and b. Okay, we can go here and do this. This is just perfectly fine because we have a global variable with 0. I'm going to initialize a value of 3 here, and I'm going to initialize a value of 5 here. So we have two initialized variables, and this should equal 8, right? And of course it does. We are not getting any warning, everything is fine, and we are getting the expected result. This is not very surprising, but one thing will be surprising. I'm counting A up here, and I'm counting B up here by 1. So what we are going to expect now is 10, and this will be 10. And we are printing A is the value of A, and B is the value of B. Okay, so I did something wrong. Oh, here. Okay. Okay, we are just running that program. Maybe we are a little bit surprised, because what are we going to expect here? We have A is 5, B is 3. So we send the values of, here, we send the values of 5 and 3 to the calc function. It will increment the variable A, it will increment the variable B, so I get 6 and 4 here, it will return 10. But what are we expecting here? A is 5. And B is, what is the value of B? We incremented it here, but is it still 3 or is it 4? Take 1 minute, think about that, and maybe pause the video now, because I'm showing you the result now. If you want to think about that. It's still 3. And this may be a little bit surprising for you, but maybe not. I will tell you why this is 3 and not 4. Or I will tell you why you may be thinking this may be 4 instead of 3. Okay, we have the variables A and B here, and we are incrementing that here. But B is a global variable, so we could think that we are incrementing the global variable, but we are not. The reason for that is we are not really sending the variables to the function, but the values. I already told you in another video about functions that we are just sending the values. And these values are assigned to local variables B and A. So in this case, B is the local variable of the calc function, this one, not the global one. If we have a local and a global variable by the same name, it will take the local variable. So that one is a little bit more important in the order of assigning any value. Okay, now let's change that. Let's change the name of the local variable to C, maybe. We don't have any variable C, so now it should take the global variable, right? Okay, so what are we expecting now? We expect that here we still have 5 and 3. The value 3 will be assigned to the local variable C, which is absolutely useless in this function. We are not using C anywhere. So the compiler will look, okay, I don't know any local variable with the name B, but I know a global variable with the name B. So it will increment the global variable, and this will be 4. So it will return the same value of 10, but after that it will say A is 5. We didn't change A at all. but b will be 4 because that is a global variable. We are accessing the global variable here. Okay, let's see if I am right. Turns out I am. Woo-hey. Okay, so this is the first thing to keep in mind when working with global and local variables. But now you could ask yourself, okay, inside of a function we have local variables, and outside of functions we have global variables. But we also have other language constructs like the if and the for loop or whatever. And there's some kind of rule. Whenever you have the curlies and you have a variable inside of here, it will not be known outside the curlies. So we can go here and we can say, okay, please give me the value of c. Value of c is this. Okay, this will working perfectly fine. We just get a warning because we didn't use the variable a. Unused variable will also give us a warning, but we will use it here to calculate this one. Maybe better so we don't get a warning. Okay, so we calculate the value of a and c. For us, this means the variable a is known inside of these curlies, and we can set curlies anywhere we want. And now, whenever we start that program, it will give the right result. So this one is working, but outside of these curlies, if we are trying to use c here, we will get not only a warning, we will get an error. So this time we can even compile without WAL because we are not getting any executable out of this one. It will tell us we have an error, and here's just a note, but this is an error. C is undeclared. First use in this function, which is crazy because we are still inside of our function. We just took some curlies out of nowhere, and we declared the variable c inside of the curlies, but outside of them it is not known to the function anymore. So this is called a scope, and inside of that scope c behaves like a local variable and a will behave like a global variable. So a is known to this scope, but c is not known to the scope of the main function anymore because we put it in a scope by itself. So you should consider this when working with global and local variables, and you should consider to initialize the values of local variables. Always initialize them. And maybe you get some errors in your code when working with local and global variables together, and you should be able to debug these errors, to know the error codes and to debug that the right way. This example was pretty difficult to understand. It's okay if you didn't catch up all. We will have some exercise later, like in the last section of the basics, and you can learn by using our exercises. And later we will still use the concept of local and global variables in almost every video, so you will get enough practice for this one. So always keep your heads up and just follow the next videos.